Yo, what's up? I'm Jay. Sorry, I've been taking a bit of a break. October was just a disaster of a month for me. There was so much work I had to do, so much school I had to do, then trick-or-treating came around, hanging out with friends came around. A lot happened, but I'm glad to be back, and I hope I can get back into the schedule of making videos, and hopefully this one puts me back on track. Look, I know by the time this video comes out, Halloween will be over. The whole month of October will be over, and I don't care. I don't care if this video comes out on Thanksgiving, okay? Halloween doesn't end until I dress up, come on this video, end this video. I don't care if Halloween, what am I saying? I don't care when Halloween ends. It doesn't end until I get on it, okay? And what if I want to dress up as a silly little alien for all my videos? You know, who's stopping me? But yeah, I'll try not to take as many breaks, but this one was very much needed. And hopefully, again, this video will get me back on track. Art. It is such a complex thing that is sworn from creativity and is a wide range of different things. Some people are more creative in writing, some people are more creative in drawing, more creative in painting, weaving, pottery, etc. You get the point. It is a wide spectrum of creativity, and artists who indulge in these certain creative spectrums enhance their build and their beautiful craft, learning different things and new ideas to help motivate them to create better art that is suited for them, ideas for them. It represents who they are or what they love, things they like, and things they upheld by. Art is amazing, and art is loved by every artist. But there is also something that is feared by every artist, and I believe that is what's known as art regression. What is art regression? Art regression is basically when an artist's skills look like they're getting worse. You look at your old art and then look at the art you're making now and realize, holy crap, I've forgotten most of the things I used to be good at. This can happen usually due to lack of practice, especially after art block, and things like too much work, too much stress. It's a fear of artists, and it's an especially big fear if it has taken you years to develop your artist craft. And then all of a sudden, this usually happens when you get hit with the biggest art block of the century, then come back from your break and realize, oh my gosh, I forgot everything. What the hell? Now, art progression on this scale isn't when you take a break of art for a week or maybe even a month. This is more like a couple months, and for me, even a year. You come back to your work realizing you've forgotten the basics of everything that made your art. The thing that you deem your footprint to society, now just a footprint in mud and it just rained. It's harsh to see. However, art regression isn't the problem that I will be bringing up in this video. How people deal with seeing artists going through art regression is the problem. I've seen this a lot on my FYP. Artists who had an old art style and then show a new art style that is vastly different from what they previously had. A completely different art style in a completely different medium sometimes. So much different that you cannot compare, but people love to. I see it all the time in comment sections under these posts. Oh wow, you regressed horribly. Oh my goodness, you sold your art so bad. Holy cow, this is worse art regression than Puppy-chan. And if you don't know who Puppy-chan is, my lord who are in heaven, am I not bringing that up now? Why do people say this though? Why does this happen? Well, I think it's kind of like the same thing that happens when you compare old Renaissance art to modern art. It's visually appealing for the majority. People, and I'm not saying everybody, but most people love the complexity of realistic art. People love seeing human expressions that they can make themselves. People love seeing the rendering of the lighting that exists in the real world. Most people enjoy that realistic sense of art, but not every art form is like that. A lot of art forms aren't like that. And when we got into the more modern times of art, people started experimenting with a lot of different art styles, and a lot of those art styles were not realistic. And that's where you get the complaint of contemporary art and modern art saying it's such a big divot and regression of art history Now, looking in the modern times where people usually focus on more of expressions or focus more on color theory, not focusing on more of the realistic anatomy sense of how life should look on Earth. However, we do have to come to the main consensus and main point that art is subjective, and whenever these complaints happen, they are complaints that should be taken of this is somebody's opinion. Whether they think your old art style looked better than what you come up with now is completely on them. However, it's not art regression, and we should stop throwing that term around so lightly how we are now. Again, art regression is when your art gets worse, not when your art gets different. This most likely comes from the term of, oh, just because it's different doesn't mean it's better. And that's not inherently true, but just because it's different doesn't mean it's worse. It's different, it's unique, it's a different art style, a different medium, something that is so vastly different from its original style that you cannot compare it in a sense that this is inherently worse to the average person. I want to use myself as an example. When I was a wee lad, a wee artist, I used to crave having a realistic art style. I used to crave having something that was detailed and exciting and looked like how I look like. But when I tried to teach myself and force myself into that art style, I realized that I could not pick this art style up for the life of me. I tried. Looking at every anatomy video I swear exists on this good planet of Earth, but I could never stick to it. I mean, technically I did, and I tried to force myself into that art style, but I got burnt out insanely quickly. I went into more art block than I have ever gone through in my life during that time period. I couldn't pick up this art style, and when I did, I couldn't pick up drawing. It sucked. It was an art style that I didn't enjoy, and I think the only reason that I kept on it so much is because I knew that was visually appealing, and was visually appealing to most people, and not just me. Sure, I liked how that art style looked, but I didn't like how that art style made me feel. That art didn't represent me, it just represented how I wanted people to see my art. Beautiful, extravagant, detailed, expressive. And that's where my year-long break in art just hit me. I'm telling you, a year of just looking at my art program, looking at my iPad, wanting something to be there, and I couldn't force myself to draw anything. Then, when that year passed and everything subsided and I finally had the motivation to draw, I realized something. It was different. It was weird. It was not something I wanted to be drawing. And that's what younger me thought. I thought my art had regressed. I thought I couldn't pick it back up. I tried looking at tutorials again, the tutorials I looked up from last year, and trying to pick this art style back again. And then I realized my problem. That's not the art style I wanted. The only reason I picked up that art style was to make people happy. Realized what worked for the algorithm, and seeing if I picked up that art style, would I be seen as how I see my art heroes, the people I look up to when drawing? But I'm unique, I'm different. So what did I do? I picked a completely different art style. Something that's more cartoonish, something that's more expressive, the colors are popping and it's not just some dim lighting. I worked on that art style. And when I drew, I noticed I drew a lot more frequently. I drawed like every day. I realized what I was missing. I learned anatomy so much more quicker when it was in this art style. Oh my shit, my freaking camera's falling. Sorry about that. I noticed that I was just getting better at art, and the things I didn't understand when I was trying to force myself to look at this other art style, I was understanding a lot more quicker with this newer art style. I learned how to render better. Color theory worked so much better for me. How lighting and contrast works, I learned from a more simpler art style and a more simpler technique. But when I showed people my new art style, especially friends, let's just say they didn't really like it. When you look at my old art style to my new art style, looking at it in non-artist eyes, you can tell I regressed in a sense. I wasn't as realistic. I didn't draw bodies on how I drew them last time. So people who looked at my art style who weren't really necessarily artists, looked at my art in just disgust of like, wow, oh my goodness, this regress is so bad. But I didn't notice that. I looked at my art style and realized I learned anatomy so much better. I looked at my art and realized I drew things so much better in a scale that's more simplistic. I understood color better. I understood rendering better. I understood everything better. And that's what people need to understand, especially the art community. Just because somebody changed their art style dramatically doesn't mean they regressed. They found something that was way more comfortable in their eyes, in their sense. Art is subjective. we have to come back to that point to illuminate the point I'm about to make. What you think is worse isn't art regression, it's just your opinion. Art styles are equal to each other. Art mediums are equal to each other in a sense that this person can do this art and art style, and this artist can do this art and this art style. And they are so vastly different. If you were to make the artist that does a cartoonish art style and slam them into realism, they're gonna have a hard time. And if you take this realistic artist who draws and slam them into the cartoon aspect, they're gonna have a hard time. So it's not art regression because art styles are equal to each other of the importance they take. But again, opinion is also subjective, and your opinion could be this art style looks worse than that art style. But again, doesn't mean regression. I really do need the art community to stop throwing this term around so lightly every time they see an art style that's different and unique, especially when it's comparison art. We need to stop doing that. If somebody draws in the jelly art style and then shows the same art style but severely here, yes, in that sense, that is art regression. But if somebody draws insanely realistic but then draws insanely cartoonish, these are completely different art styles and art subjects. You cannot put them together and say this is such a big art regression because the two arts are so different. This is so simple, yet I feel so many people in the art community cannot grasp it. But why? Why does the art community have such a hard time dealing with different art styles, especially when one art style is more appealing and then the other isn't? I think the art regression hate stems from the same hate as when people hate on beginner artists, and it's just because people cannot fathom somebody in a different art area than they are. And I hate that. It's like people cannot fathom somebody in like a different medium doing a different art style, especially if it's not visually appealing to the masses. And I can't kind of grasp why. I have an idea. I think it's because people used to get bullied for their old art style, and when they see somebody who has the same art style when they got bullied, they feel like it's acceptable to bully that person. They can't fathom it, especially if that artist used to have that art style and now doesn't. It's a weird thing. And I think the art community, when it comes to art regression, it's just so poorly handled, especially with how what art regression means and then what they use it for. But even when somebody genuinely does art regress, the comments are insanely negative. They don't have mercy. They don't have any type of emotion to feel bad for the artist that went through such a bad art regression. It's terrible to see. If somebody goes through art regression and is deeply wounded by it, the art community should be there to help, give tips, give understanding, or give stories of when they art regressed too. But it's like they don't have any sense of empathy for that artist. They just be like, oh wow, this art regression is so bad. Oh my goodness, just stop drawing in general. This is horrible. Are you serious, dude? Are you what? That's no way to treat people in the art community. Do you not understand what that word means? The art community just has a problem with empathizing with people. I think any community does, and this is just a problem that comes with having a community. And I do deeply hate it. Again, this is just... if I keep on talking about it, I'm just gonna make my mind explode. I do want the art community to learn from this video and just to learn what art regression means. It's okay to call out somebody for having art regression. It's okay to give people advice on how to fix art regression, but bullying people who have a different art style now and grew out of their old one, or just bullying people who did art regress and want to get back to drawing how they usually did, it's toxic, and the art community needs to learn that this is just not acceptable behavior for the community. The same people who call out artists for bullying beginner artists do this and think it's acceptable because the artist used to know how to draw. It's horrible behavior, and you guys need to understand it. But I do think that's honestly all I have for today's video. I just want the art community to grow on this because it is a problem that I've noticed peak recently, especially artists sharing how they used to draw back in like 2020 and showing how they used to draw now. It's become a trend, and then when people show how they used to draw, all of a sudden they have a different art style and the art community wants to be biased on what they think art should look like. it's a terrible thing to happen, and it's just toxic to see, and I really do hate seeing it. But to call out the positive, I have seen the art community call out a lot of people who do this. The comments being insanely negative, I have seen a lot of my mutuals or friends or people who I don't know in the art community, but I scroll upon their videos, calling out artists who do this. And I think it's just a really nice sense of the negatives being pushed out by the positives, and I really need that to happen more. But yeah, that's really all I have to say about that. But if you do want a really nice community of artists that help uplift other artists and just give a nice environment, you could maybe like join my Discord server that I made with my friends. Hopefully, maybe, probably. It's a great, okay? A great server. I love literally everybody in there. I love chatting to a lot of people in there, and I think a lot of people would enjoy it too. You can share your art, you can share photos you like, you can share different things, your writing or photography, just a lot of things you could do. It's not just for people who do paintings, drawings, digital. It's for a lot of artists out there. Also, my commissions are open, so if anybody would like to commission it, you know, help an artist out, I guess. But yeah, again, that's really all I have to say for this video. I do hope you enjoyed.